Oh, there we go.
Hello.
It started. Hello.
Hello. I think I may have done the countdown before we went live. So maybe the countdown was just for me and Hannah. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Everyone. Yeah, so today we've come to talk about Reaching for the Moon by Katherine Johnson.
There's something in this. Oh, there we go.
And The Planet Factory by Elizabeth Tasker as well. I had to look at the name. It's not like I've been reading this book for the past month.
Indeed.
Oh, sorry, Sorry, I had double sound. I could hear us back then. Sorry.
Oh, blimey, that's all right. I was just thinking about... Oh, sorry, what were you going to say?
I was going to say then after we've talked about the books, then lovely Tom is going to join us and talk to us about his research in galaxy formation as well, which I'm super excited about. So I'd love to know how similar it is to star system formation as well. I bet there are some similarities you've got to look out for and stuff. Sorry, Hannah, what were you going to say before?
Oh, it's nothing to relate to space at all, but I was just thinking on that countdown, it was annoying that the music wasn't aligned with the numbers going down, but yeah, it's just completely arbitrary rubbish.
I didn't notice that. I think because I was thinking, I've pressed it too soon. So should we start with Reaching for the Moon?
Yes, definitely. I love the name of this book. I don't know if
it's cool, isn't it? It's cool. I love the fact she wrote it when she was like, I don't know, 99, 100 as well. I just feel that's so amazing. Imagine having the energy to do that at 99.
The amount of stuff she got done in her life, I was just like, oh my God, I don't know. It's just crazy. And I don't know, living for like over 90, I'm like, how is that even possible? I don't know. But yeah. The title of this book always reminds me of that S Club 7 song. Reach for the stars. So every time I pick this up, I was just singing S Club in my head.
I didn't do that, but I feel like now I will. Now I definitely will. I don't know if I can see like comments or if I'm in the wrong section. Can you see comment section?
I can't see it. I don't think anyone's commented yet, but I think there's the comment section on the right side.
Oh yeah, I see it. Yeah, just in case anybody rocks up, I thought I'd just have it open.
That sounds good.
Yeah, so you enjoyed it then?
Yes, definitely. I think, I don't know, I've read loads of memoirs last year, so I feel like this year, like still reading memoirs and autobiographies, I don't know, I just seem to gravitate towards them, but that didn't mean to be a joke until I thought of it. And then I thought, oh, that's a stupid pun. But the fact it's written for children as well, like older children, I guess, was really interesting to read how she kind of adapted her words to that audience. And yeah, I just wish that like we read things like this when I was like age 10 and things like that, because it was very like white dominated, the stuff we read at school. So if we had more stuff like this in our library and just taught, I think it would have been really beneficial to us to learn about racism, segregation, etc. But I've kind of gone on a tangent already. So yes, did you enjoy the book?
Oh yeah, I really enjoyed the book. I just liked how, exactly what you just said, how matter of fact she was with everything and about the realities of living in a society with racism and segregation and stuff. She didn't sugarcoat anything, but then equally, because it was written for children, everything was explained. Like I felt like when she used different terms, she explained what it was. So it was very clear and it was very good for young kids. And I was kind of, when I first started reading it, I was a bit shocked because I thought, because I'm so out of touch with children and what they can take and what, it sounds so patronizing, but I just don't remember being 10. I just don't remember being 10 now. I'm way past that. But I think, it was just really great to see it written like that and have it so clear and so blatant and not sugar-coated. I really, really like that about it. And I think, a lot of conversation starters for classrooms and things like that.
Definitely.
Yeah. It did make me laugh though at the beginning because she's such a smart woman, isn't she? Like, so when she was a kid and she was like, why doesn't my brother understand maths? It's so easy. I did think this girl is like on another level of smart. She's so clever. Yeah, that made me chuckle in the beginning.
Yeah, it's so strange. Like, because she had like a similar upbringing sort of to her elder siblings in terms of, like, she hadn't even gone to school and she was already helping her brother with maths and all this kind of stuff. And I'm just thinking, how did she get to that stage? Like, her mum was reading some books with her and teaching her maths and all that kind of thing. I'm just like, oh, even so though, like, just, I don't know if she was like predisposed to this because of her genes or whatever, or she must have learned it at the same time in her environment. But it's just like, she just seemed like a genius, even at age 4 or whatever, just far beyond her years already, assumed only the first few years in her life. And, I don't know.
Was it when was she teaching maths to her brother when she was like 5 or something? It was something ridiculous, like very, very young. But I think she said something about like she counted everything, didn't she? So I think her brain just thought in numbers. Everything was numbers with her. So she just came so naturally to her, I guess, to think in that way. And she was so intrigued by everything in the world, and she just wanted to learn and absorb all the information. And I wonder if, because she clearly comes from such an academic family, if that is just in her genes, in her blood, like she just wants to know everything, kind of thing.
It was so cool.
It was really inspiring to read. I thought, just her perseverance with stuff, and like even later on when she worked at NASA and things like that, she still, I don't know, the way she was with people, and she just was like, well, I want to do this, and I'm going to do it, and you're going to involve me, because why shouldn't I be here? Like, exactly. Absolutely amazing. So what did you think about her dad? I loved her dad.
So I really liked her dad as well, and the things that he did to get his family to where they were, I thought was just like very inspiring and just an amazing thing to do. And the hard work that he put in fact, like their whole family, but particularly her dad, I was just thinking how, and I don't know how I could do that, for example, work for hours and hours on end, traveling all over the place just to well, not just to, obviously, like, providing support for your family is very important, but just the extremes that he had to go to work for just what we, I think, take for granted nowadays, like our education, stuff like that. It was also surprising, I think, because although I learned about segregation in like year 10 history or whatever, can't remember what year, like, you can read it out of textbook, but just nothing, I think, really teaches you about segregation and racism in America like that, like a memoir or an autobiography, because like I didn't know half of the stuff in here, even though I did it for GCSE, A-level, whatever. But I went on a tangent again.
I absolutely agree. It's just so shocking. I think I wrote it down actually so I could remember exactly what it was. But it was just like when excuse me, when her dad, when they all moved as a family to go closer to the school that they wanted their children to go to. And then because he was a black man, he couldn't get a job there. And then I was so shocked that he had to go, I wrote down like 122 miles back to White Springs. Then he had to live there, pay for 2 houses while his family were away, and then just didn't see his family for months on end while he was providing for the family. And that just, I don't know, it's when you hear stories like that, like that's the reality of what this is. Like that's what happened, you know. And it's just sad because they were all so close as a family as well, and to have to be ripped away from that because you want what's best for your family, but you can't even get a job in the town where they're going to school. I thought was, it's just shocking to learn about, isn't it? When you see it like that.
Definitely.
I just thought he was such a wonderful father with just wanting the best for his kids. And I loved what he said to her, his little kind of saying like you're no better than anyone else, but nobody else is better than you.
Yeah.
I just feel like everybody needs to hear that. Everybody needs to hear that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I really it was great that she had that, because obviously not everybody has that outlook, do they?
Yeah.
Just like will do whatever they can for their family. Well, not that other people don't want to do that, but sometimes you can't do it, you know. So yeah.
And it is tiring. Like I only work 32 hours a week, and I'm like, nope, that's enough for me. And I'm like, how on earth could just someone work so much? And he must love obviously his family so much to do that, but at the same time he shouldn't have had to do that in those circumstances. And if he was a white man, he wouldn't have had to do that. And that's what's really shocking as well, in that in these, like I said, that in GCSE you can learn about all this stuff, but until you actually read about someone's actual life like this, I don't know, I feel like you can be a bit disconnected that these are actually real people. These are the lives of real people. And I think when she recently died, didn't she, Katherine Johnson? So even like she was alive 1 or 2 years ago, and in her lifetime she had experienced segregation and all these disgusting laws that were put in place in America. And I don't know, it just feels kind of far removed from our society, but it really was not that long ago. And obviously racism still happens on a daily basis as well. But yeah, I think I kind of forget just how recent segregation was. And how these laws weren't in place.
I think that is the reality of like the dates, because I think when I learned about, I don't even remember if I learned about it at school particularly, but anything that I did learn, I just assumed, it just feels so long ago, doesn't it? Like any time before you were born, when you were a child, feels like 2 million centuries ago, and it's just not it's just not related to the now. And like the older I get, the time just shrinks, and then you suddenly the shocking, it's shocking that this happened last century, like in the way that it did. It is very, very shocking.
Definitely.
So like I was kind of surprised with the book that there wasn't that much about the NASA part, in a way. I'm glad the first part was what it was when I was reading it, but I just wasn't expecting it to be like that. But I did really enjoy reading the part where she was like at the NACA and then at NASA. I did enjoy reading that. What did you think about that part?
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it as well. And I don't know, like the bits before it, I was like, oh, we know what's going to happen and it's all leading up to it. But when she was actually there, I was just, I don't know, just really rooting for her. And I felt like the way she writes as well, I don't know, I was just really connecting to her and hoping that, even though I know that she went on to NASA and did excellent things, I don't know, it still felt like she hadn't made it yet. So we were still rooting for her. But when she was there as well, you just realise that how absolutely astonishing she was. Like, just her brain and her knowledge. And I just want to picture, like, I don't know if they still exist, like the maths she actually wrote out while she was there. Because I would, even though I wouldn't understand it, I would love to just see all the work she did just actually written out there. Just because I don't think I can quite compute how much maths there is to do what she did. And,
it just like it's such, just even when you do like one division, there's so many lines. She had to like factor in so much stuff. It's just, I think have you seen Hidden Figures, which is about?
No, I still haven't seen that. It's bad. I need to watch it.
No, I didn't rewatch it actually. I need to do that. I think they have it like on the boards and stuff, on the chalkboards and everything. Like they have parts of it written out and just like stacks of paper that she's writing through. From what I can remember, it was a while ago that I watched it. But yeah, just amazing to have all of that and to do it in such like an exact way. I just couldn't believe, was it John Glenn who went into orbit and then he was like, I don't trust the computers. So like I just find that amazing. Can you imagine if someone said that to you? Like, I don't believe the computer, so can you just do the maths all on your own? And then I think it's just, that shows you what an incredible mind she had, that they knew she wasn't going to make any mistakes. It's crazy.
I just can't believe that. Like, there's just so much room for error. Well, what I assume because of all the maths that must have had to gone into it. And the fact she didn't make one error out of everything she did. I don't know. I just find that so difficult to kind of comprehend. Hello!
Hey, John. How are you? How is it in Australia? I'm always jealous of people in Australia right now. But it's just amazing. And I feel like I know to have the confidence to be able to do that as well. It's just one of the like brightest things about her. And especially when she got taken away from the other computers and into the man's office, and then she had the confidence in herself to correct someone, to say she wanted to go to the meetings with the rest of the guys, because, you know, how could she do her job if she doesn't know the full picture? And, you know, it seems so obvious to us now because we're luckily not living in the world where the women get left out in the same way that they did. But to just have the confidence to do that, I just think, my gosh, that's just so amazing. It takes, I don't think I would have been able to do it. I know that I wouldn't have been able to do it. And, but she was so right to, obviously, you know, like after, especially what happened. All cold at 1:15 in the morning. Cold. Like, I don't know, that was such a simplistic way to look at Australia, wasn't it? Be shocked that it was cold. So was there anything else about the last part that you wanted to talk about?
I think, again, with the segregation, so I have these big windows here and I can see everything happening, so I get really distracted. We have some nice dogs walking past quite often, so that's why I keep on looking out. Anyway, what was I saying? The segregation again. Oh God, that was the one moment in the book, actually, before she even applied. She went into the reception area, and there was a white woman on reception, and Catherine asked for an application form, and she said, "Oh, well, I don't know, we might have some on the table," and blah blah blah. And she was just so bitter towards Catherine. I feel weird calling her Catherine, like, oh yeah, my mate Catherine. But,
my mate.
The fact that, I don't know, it was kind of like chaos theory or the butterfly effect, that if those sheets weren't on that table, I was thinking what would have happened, and if that white woman didn't put that application forward, what would have happened? Because it wouldn't have happened, would it? They go to space and do all of these amazing things without her. But also the segregation, was it, so she was from the West computers, I think it was called, was it? So the black women, so it was segregated between the black women and then the white women, but the white women weren't really that qualified to the job. So okay, but then the black women were like supremely better. And because of the laws, I don't know if they could work in the same place, could they, or the same room at least.
They were separate out, weren't they?
So I was just thinking in that part, like, the engineers just always came to them to find out anything, and just when they did pick Catherine out of there, I was like, oh, here we go, it is happening. But the fact that that even happened in the first place, that they were separate, I was just like really irritated. Because
it's irritating to read about. But then also, weren't the white women, a lot of them were the wives of the engineers, weren't they? So just completely like, that says to me that they may not even be interested in what they were doing. Probably some of them were, but it just sounds like, oh, you know, I've got a job from my husband.
Yes, and that was infuriating. But at the same time, I don't know, when she mentioned all these black women doing this really important profession, at the same time I was thinking, although there was the segregation, I don't know how to explain it, but feeling like kind of they were powerful in that sense, that they were in such these high up positions, And I was thinking, yeah, you go girls, and like do, you know, what you deserve to do, which is anything you want to do. And yeah, I'm getting worked up, but yeah, not crying worked up, but just, I don't know, kind of enlivened. Yeah. And to see so many women doing such amazing things, it was horrible to read about because of the segregation, but also great to read about, to see so many Black women like fulfilling their dreams and doing amazing things.
Yeah.
I can't remember what your question was now, but
no, I don't think. No, I completely agree. One thing I thought was strange, like, because she spoke about at the end about the film, didn't she, and about the differences. She said it was like 70% accurate, and then Hollywood embellished the rest. But it sounded like she liked the film, so I feel like that's a good thing. Like, she sounded like she liked it. But the one thing that she spoke about that they changed was there being the toilet just for Black women. And I think they had a scene in the film where a white man came and like smashed down the sign that said only for Black women. And that was kind of like a big, and I've heard it spoken about that there's kind of like a white savior moment, you know, like just he came in and said no. But I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the book, I think she said that she just used the toilet that was there. In reality, that never happened in real life where someone bashed down. And she did. And I feel it's more powerful that she just used the bathroom that was there than do you know what I mean? Because it's like, why shouldn't she? Of course, you know, she's there. The bathroom she's supposed to use is across the way. She's not going to go. So, I might have got the story a bit wrong, but I felt like in the book what she said happened was a lot more powerful, empowering to her than what happened in the film. And I thought that was interesting.
That's annoying that they've put that in there, because then it's like, oh look, the white man has come to save the day, when it's just like, no,
that's not what happened. She just used the toilet when she wanted to go. That's like much better. But it was just so inspiring, and I really loved the way, because obviously it was written for kids, so I just loved the way she was very clear about just stating like girls are not less intelligent than boys. Like that. You just said it, like, because it does need to be said sometimes, because you can get subliminal messaging the whole time. I know that I genuinely thought men were more intelligent than women until I was 30, shamefully. That's just what I thought. And it was only when I went back to university that I realised that actually I understand the same things. I just never got it. And it's not anything like my parents telling me that I was less than my brother or anything like that. It's just messaging from everywhere.
Exactly.
And
I think that's one of the biggest issues which a lot of men and women actually don't see, is that you can have like all these equal rights laws, etc. You're not allowed to discriminate in the workplace. You're not allowed to hire a man over a woman based on gender. But at the same time, as a woman, and I didn't realise that all these industries that are male dominated, it does have an effect. And I don't know, in a lot of cases I look to things that are male dominated and I feel like, oh, I don't belong in that, or that's not for me, or even just like music. So music is a big part of my life. I look at session musicians, so session musicians who like play on albums, who play at Glastonbury just as like background musicians. They are predominantly male. And when you see a woman, I'm like, oh, you don't realise just quite how male dominated it is until you see a woman doing it and doing it well. That I'm like, oh, you know what? Yeah, I have. Maybe I could do that job, but I didn't think I could because it's so male dominated that in my brain it's somehow wired into me that I'm not good enough for that. But and another thing, when Tom comes in, I thought that physics was a very male dominated thing as well, but in his department it was quite 50-50 in terms of, well, just talking about cisgender here, in terms of male and female balance, which to me as well was really refreshing to see. And seeing so many intelligent women in his department, I was like, oh yes, makes me feel better knowing that women are very good at things, just as good as men, better than men in circumstances.
I think it's great to have that like 50-50 balance, because I think I may be generalizing here, but I feel like in astronomy especially, a lot of women are drawn to it. But when I did my physics course, I'm not sure, because I did Open University for my undergrad, so to be honest, I don't know how many men and women there were, because you're not really in a class. But I did a plasma physics based masters, and there wasn't that many of us. How many were there? Maybe there was like 20 of us in the group, and I was one of 2 girls. So, and the imbalance was kind of there, and I really got on well with like all the lads that I studied with, but you do feel it like when you're in like a kind of the conversations you have and all of that, and just feeling, and also because of it was me, so I was putting it on myself that I wasn't as smart as the guys, and I think myself and the other girl, we always did ourselves down a lot. I did notice that. Yeah. We'd always apologize before we said anything, or we wouldn't ask questions as much as the other people. And I wish I'd read this and been like, Catherine Johnson spoke out. I can do.
I think another thing is that like men in those circumstances don't often realize like how it feels to be a woman in that situation. And this is another thing as well. My job was female dominated. I feel like if you do switch the sides as well, in a lot of circumstances, men don't feel like some jobs or some hobbies are for them because it's female dominated. But I feel like it's a different thing, because I feel like men may not want to associate themselves with something that's female dominated because it's, well, female dominated, if you know what I mean. So, for example, playing the flute. I keep on relating it to music because that's the only thing I know about. Playing the flute, I don't know, it's my least favorite instrument anyway, but it's very like female dominated. Unless you go to like the big orchestras, you see men playing it all the time. But I don't know what I'm talking about basically, but I don't know, it's just like quite a female instrument, and I feel like some men may feel uncomfortable playing something that's female because they might appear like more feminine or whatever. I don't know.
I know what you mean. It has different connotations. How did you feel, John, about your job? Did you feel did you think it was just fine? Were you made like welcome, or did you feel that you were like the only guy there kind of thing? Because I know in my day job sounds ridiculous, because I don't work in physics or anything, but I work in costume, and that is like very female dominated, and I do feel sorry for men that want to work in the industry in that way, because so many people are like judgy about it and make assumptions about people that want to work in it as a man, and it can be difficult to get in there, to be honest. And I do think that's also something that needs looking at, and I think the world is going that way, where people can be much more comfortable with what they actually like. But yeah, I've had weird experiences in the past where we've had men come and work in the department, and then people change their attitudes, or they suddenly, I don't know, I don't want to say too much, but yeah, it definitely feels different. And but it's nice. I think it's refreshing to have a nice balance with everybody. That's great, John. Yeah. Welcome to Open Arms. That's really great.
At the same time, oh, sorry, I've just been talking over you. What did you say?
Oh, no, I just said that's really great. Sorry, carry on.
Because I think a lot, since we've been talking sort of about the F word, feminism, like, I think there are lots of voices to support women in circumstances when they feel like they're under pressure, or not finding it hard to get into industries. But I think it works the same the other way around, like what you were saying as well. And I feel like we need more people to stand up for men who also are, unequal in some cases as well. And I think just in terms of, for example, childcare, for example, that is completely unequal towards women. And so although we're unequal still in lots of circumstances, but at least we can see progress happening now. I don't know how it came onto childcare, but yes.
We've gone off on a huge tangent, but I feel like I think just having like this kind of book in a classroom is just I think the choice that Catherine made to write it for children, I think, was an amazing choice.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because it's going to help so many kids just be like, yes. Although I wonder if when I was a kid, if I read this, if I thought, well, I'm not smart like her. Do you know what I mean? Because she's so incredibly smart. She's so smart. But just the underlying message is just amazing. I loved it. It was great.
Yeah. And it means that we have conversations like this as well. Like, it's important discussions, I think, to be had by children and adults alike.
Oh yeah, definitely, 100%. Should we move on to Planet Factory now?
That sounds good. I'm scared about this book. Oh God, I can't pick it up. There we go. I managed in the end.
So
yes. Oh, I forgot something. What were you going to say?
No, you go on. I just remembered what you're going to say. Go on.
Oh, yes. I feel silly now, but I have a hat that looks like the book. So, yeah.
It's such a great hat. I love it. It's so good.
It's got one missing there. So
you should do like little, like mini ones to have little planets going around them.
Yeah. That one's like a...
Little beans, I mean.
Yeah. Oh, God. I am getting a bit warm with this on. I might take it off. This book's scary, so I don't really want to start. I'm going to take the hat off now because
So what did you think of this one, Hannah?
Oh, to be honest, I'm petrified of talking about this book because, well, let's just say, firstly, I thought this was a very tough book to read. From someone who I'm not very sciencey person. I've done a bit of, I did a geography course at uni that touched on some things about the Earth and stuff in this. But other than that, I don't have much of a science background. But as a popular science reader, I thought I do have some criticism of it. But saying that, I think the content itself, lots of it was interesting at the same time, but I think it just might have been, I don't know if it was me or the book, or I think it's a bit of both, means that I couldn't get the most out of the book, but the book couldn't speak to me because my brain can't comprehend all that information, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
I think I do agree with you, because I think I understand why Elizabeth went into so much detail with exactly what happens, because that's kind of the point of the book. But then equally, it's kind of like it was relentless. I felt it was like, this is one thing it could be, this is another thing it could be, this is another way we can do it, and another way we can do it. And it's because it's such a new field and everything's changing all the time, and it did give you that vibe. But like, I mean, I have studied tiny bits and pieces of this subject before, and even though I've got that background, I still struggled to keep up with and it exhausted me a little bit reading it.
Yeah.
Even though I did find it really interesting, I just think it's so jam-packed. It's definitely great if you want to know the ins and outs of exactly what's happening and what scientists think now. But as a popular science book, I think it was a lot of information.
Yes, I agree. It was more like hipster science. Well, not you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of not hipster. What's the word I'm thinking of? Like, I feel like a small percentage of people would be able to get everything into this book, into their brains, and understand everything, which isn't very popular in my opinion. I think popular science should, the majority of people reading it should be able to understand it. I think the thing that got me, I've written a few things down. I think the two main things was, the number one thing I thought was lacking was the structure, and the just every single bit about the structure, to be honest. Like the chapter names, for example, I thought, okay, they're quite quirky and cool. And when you actually kind of read a bit of the chapter, I was like, oh, okay, so that's why this is called this name. But I don't know, I feel like, for example, the factory floor, okay, yes, I can sort of understand where that's going, but I just feel like there should be subtitles in all of these chapter names, just to actually give, more information of what this is about. And actually reading the chapters now, I think I'm wrong, and they actually do make quite a bit of sense. But that's what I thought a few minutes ago. Yeah, I don't know.
I do kind of see what you mean. I think they do relate to the chapter, but yeah, I think they do kind of relate to the chapter. But I think I know they're not very specific, like technically. It's just it is kind of like, I guess headline in a way. Yeah.
And I think the reason why, looking at them, it does make sense, and I think they are quite broad sounding, because in the chapters it's both in depth but does cover such a broad range of things, and there's like so many tangents that it goes off. So it will be talking about one thing in our solar system, and I'm like, oh, that's really interesting, like about Jupiter or something, and then I can't remember what chapter it was now, but there was one chapter where it was talking about some kind of exoplanet thing going on, and then it started talking about comets. And I was like, hold on, what's that got to do with comets? And then it started talking about what comets are and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, right, that's interesting. But now my brain's confused and how that applies to what she's just said. And I feel like that happened so many times. I was reading something like, yeah, that's cool. But again, how does that relate to the thing before? So I think even just like a small introduction at the beginning of each chapter, just to say even what the chapter is going to do and what it's going to talk about. I think it would just help someone like me just know where it's going to go and how it's relevant. Or
kind of like at the beginning of, do you mean like the beginning of a textbook where it just says, this is what we're going to cover, this is kind of what you're going to learn? And then
I think so. I feel like it's too creative. I think the writing is kind of like storytelling in some places, which is nice. Like she uses some nice anecdotes, but at the same time, I just wish there were fewer rhetorical questions and more. These just help someone like me understand what you're talking about. I don't know. And the audience, like, who are you aiming this towards? Because there were some things that she defined and I was like, okay, I knew that already. And then there were some things she didn't define and I was like, I don't know what this is, please help me. I don't know what you thought about that.
I mean, I feel like it's difficult because I can't see it from your perspective in a way, because I knew like some of the terms and stuff already, but I do see that it was a bit I do see where you would be confused with it, because it was just like choppy and changey. I did not enjoy it though. I feel I did have to read a few things over and over again to be like, wait, okay, what's actually being said here? Let's go back and like kind of try and work it out again. So I do agree. I think it was too heavy for a popular science book. But it's interesting, like when you kind of know about stuff already, and then you want to know the like grittiness of it and the ins and outs and what exactly do they know. That was interesting. I think by the end of it, I had lost momentum with it. So there's a part at the end, isn't it, about the moon and searching for the exo moons around the planets, and a lot of the science was similar for that. It's just like an extension of it. But I was kind of exhausted about reading it almost. I was like, okay, oh gosh, there's like more confusion. It's just, I think for me, how I felt about it, I don't want to bash it, because I do think for what she wanted it to be, I think it is what it is. Like she wants you to be able to read a headline about, oh, they found an Earth-like planet, and be able to look at it objectively and say, but have they actually found an Earth-like planet, or is this just the press? And I feel like that was her point, is she just wants to arm everyone with the information they need to be like, actually, you haven't thought about this, you haven't thought about this, you haven't thought about this. But it kind of, in a way, because there's so much to think about, it wasn't depressing. I don't want to say it's depressing, but it was kind of like, oh, there's another thing you have to consider, and there's another reason why this might be wrong, and there's another reason why this might be wrong. And I found that difficult to kind of, because she can't help that. That's just how it is. But it's when you're not actually working in the field, it's a lot of information. It's a lot of things you've got to try and remember to think about. Like it was tough to read in parts, but I did enjoy it as well. That's the thing. I think she did throw in some of it was really, really interesting, and I liked especially the middle part about hearing about all the different types of planets that there could be, and I liked thinking about finding life in the not the solar system, but yeah, the solar system as well. But you know, in the galaxy and stuff. I find all that very interesting. So I did like those bits.
Yeah,
well.
definitely.
Yeah,
I think so too. I think if I was Elizabeth Tasker, I think it would be, I don't know, for what it is, I think it's very good, like you said, what it is. But at the same time, I was just like, who is this aimed towards? Because for someone like me who hasn't had much of a science background, I think the thing I struggled with the most was just the amount of content that was in there.
Yeah.
And but there were some bits that I found really interesting and that I think were well explained. Like, I don't know, just maybe like, I think my favourite bit was like the hot Jupiters, like learning about those and how like the gas giants are formed and stuff. I thought that was really interesting. And I was like, I can actually sort of understand it, not completely, but it just got to the point where I was like, okay, I know I'm not going to understand all of this, so I'll just read it and try and take what I can from it. And even though I can't understand everything in this book, I still did take things away from it, and I still did enjoy things from it. And now I know more things about planets now, which is good. And also just the title, The Planet Factory, I think it's just such a great name for a book.
How to build a planet.
It's a good name.
I think from what you've said and how I feel about it, I think maybe she could have, instead of telling us every kind of reason maybe she didn't tell us every reason, she probably didn't, the book's not that big, but maybe just less reasons or less examples of things might have been better, just to keep you, and just say, it could be a Jupiter, but it could be a Neptune, and these are some of the reasons why. Just give one or two, don't give five.
And I think also just another thing that I was like, oh no, I really wish there were more pictures and diagrams and stuff in this book. And there were some diagrams in here that I thought, I can visualize that in my head on my own. I don't need that. And there are other times I was like, oh God, please let there be a diagram or some kind of illustration so I can understand what's happening. Because as Tom will probably say when he comes in, he absolutely loves doing diagrams and doing illustrations and GIFs and all this kind of stuff. And it seems like a big thing in astronomy to just like fangirl over all these illustrations and pictures. So when I was reading this, before I read it rather, I was thinking there's going to be a lot of that in here. And there just wasn't that many things. And there wasn't any like real life pictures in it, which I was also really surprised by. I think that's, I don't know if that's just because of licensing or like you must have to surely pay to get those images in a book if they're not yours. But I don't know. I just wish there was like an actual picture, like of this picture of the telescope that they got of this planet or X planet or whatever.
I think as well, because when I agree with that, because when she's talking about direct imaging, where you can actually see the planet and the star, it would be nice just to have a picture of that. So you can actually, because that's the cool part about it, is that they're able to do something crazy, like take a picture of a planet around another star. That's mad. But it would have been really nice to have it in there. So I totally 100% agree with that. I do agree with you.
And it's just so cool to think that we can see so far away, so many light years away. I'm like, that's just insane. And I would have loved to have just seen like just even one picture of something tens, hundreds of light years away. That would have been cool.
That would have been it would have been cool. But it is amazing like what we can do. But what I took away from it is like how little we know. I really kind of felt maybe it will still happen in my lifetime, I don't know. But I really had this hope that we would find, I don't know, some signatures of life in my lifetime. But after reading this book, I have my doubts that that's going to happen. Which that is not Elizabeth Tasker's fault. I'm not going to blame her for that. But it's kind of, and it's good to know, and it's good to know exactly where we're at. I really enjoyed that part. But it's kind of disappointing that you think, no, maybe it's not going to happen in my lifetime. That's kind of disappointing. But maybe it will be.
Yeah.
Maybe it will.
I feel like some astronomers need to like sit down with some philosophers and some geographers and some psychologists or whatever and just talk about like what is life, what are we actually defining as life, because I guess as humans we've just evolved to know what's around us and stuff. So well, obviously we can look into space and find all these planets, but how do we know we don't have like a sense that means we pick up on something else that is life, but we just can't sense what it is, if you know what I mean? So the way she kind of picked up on it in a few times, but I would have liked maybe her to go a bit more in depth in what she's actually defining as life. So, for example, she talks about like the bacterium, one of the first bacterium that started life off on our planet. But like, how do we know that's going to happen on another planet? What if it's something else? And if it is something else, can we even comprehend what that is? Can we even find out what that is?
I feel like, she kind of did briefly, didn't she, touch on that just by saying like we don't like these are our signatures for what life is as we know it, but it could just be totally different. But I suppose I don't know if you remember, but I read a book called Aliens, and it was written by those different scientists. It was edited by Jim Al-Khalili. But anyway, it was good. I quite liked it. But they had like quite a few chapters on what is life. So it's definitely something that's been, and that's like, I felt like that was quite a good, like, accessible book as well. I don't have it, or I could have sent it to you, but it is interesting thinking about, well, we're made up of these elements, but what if there are other aliens that are made up of like different elements, and like the physics of working out, can like different molecules join up in different solutions? And I don't, chemistry confuses me, I'm not gonna lie. But so he kind of delved into that a little bit, but I would like to read more. And I was shocked that there was only one chapter on that at the end, wasn't there? Like just a very short bit about looking for life and intelligent life. So it would be nice, it would be great to read a book that's like dedicated to that and just all the different kind of theories about it. But I feel like something like that, like how can you even imagine what life would be like?
I don't know, because
it's crazy.
The thing also with just thinking, is there life on another world? Like, what if there's something that isn't life, but I don't know, it's not life, but something that kind of is sort of parallel to life that we can't even comprehend because we just can't do it. Like, I don't know, like dogs can pick up on like our emotions without even like just sniffing us, for example. And we can't even understand how they do that, or well, maybe we can, but I don't understand how we could do it because I haven't researched that. But I just feel like there's something in us that we just would never even be able to understand it anyway. I don't know.
So like, do you
things around us?
Sorry, carry on.
Oh no, I finished now.
No, I was just going to say, I was going to save this for when Tom's here, but maybe we should, So do you think, like, that we're going to find life on another planet?
This is the thing, though, because I guess it depends on how we define what life is, because I think there definitely is something else out there, but I just don't think that humans can understand what that is or comprehend what that means. Like even maybe on Earth we don't have, or in our solar system we don't have everything here that we could use to comprehend what is out of the solar system, if that makes sense. Like for example, the periodic table. Oh yes, we've got all these bits that we can understand our life through, but there could be something completely different, like something else chemical wise, I don't know,
they just can't detect. Like dark matter is a whole thing, isn't it? Like
that freaks me out.
Measure it with gravity. But actually I was surprised she didn't say anything about dark matter. Maybe I'm not surprised about that actually. But I feel like that's like a whole thing that we just don't understand. But you're right, yeah, maybe we just don't have the tools to measure. But then if we're here and we've evolved how we have, you would think that maybe we would have, like, other creatures would evolve in a similar way, just because of the fact that they're using the same, they're still getting the light from the sun and all of that. So how, like, kind of molecules go together, even if there are other life forms that we just can't even comprehend, like, I don't know, I always thought that there must be other life that's kind of like us out there. But after reading this book now, I'm not sure. I feel like it's so unlikely.
Oh, it's an interesting. The thing with being human is that we really want to know the answers to things. I feel like we don't like not knowing things, and it's annoying when we don't know the answer. Oh yes, I just seen.
Sorry, I just seen. Yeah. I'm typing him a message, but I could just say it here. I'm like, typing the message. I'll type it. I typed it now. Thanks for coming, John. Yeah, good night. Yeah, I see. Yeah. Sorry, what were you saying? I'm confused now. I've lost my train of thought.
I don't know. I just go on different tangents. I say about Elizabeth Tasker going on tangents, which is completely ironic because that's what I do, like every 2 seconds. Yeah. What else did you like about the book, though?
I mean, I liked. I feel like there's so much information, Hannah. I don't even know where to start. I liked learning about all of it and the ins and outs of everything. I think that was just the main thing. I liked learning about the water worlds and stuff like that, and thinking about the physics of, like, because I think what I haven't done before when I think about these worlds is, like, actually think about, can life live on these planets? How you would look for them, like, specifically. It was very specific, and I personally did, like, enjoy that quite a lot, even though it was a lot of information at times, and I had to put it down, couldn't read it in big chunks. But it was just really interesting to me to think, okay, even the fact that if you've got, like, the habitable zone, which I know she doesn't like to use the term, but even if you have that and the planet's moving around, it doesn't mean anything, because the planet might not be like Earth. And what could it be? Even down to the fact that I never really thought about the different types of rock that there would be and the different elements in the rock. I just never thought about it in depth before, and I really like that. I really like that she talked about it a lot. But it has kind of made me feel sad that maybe we won't imminently find aliens. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So, that was very well put. I was just thinking that, completely unrelated, I would really like to see this in, like, a graphic novel form, like just very condensed graphic novel, and just, like, loads of different planets that she talks about, and just, like, I don't know, one chapter saying this planet or whatever, and this solar, well, she didn't really talk about other solar systems that much, other stars and the planets orbiting them, and I think that would be, I don't know, I would quite enjoy that. I think I might be a visual learner, and that's why I was like, I don't know what's happening.
I do agree, actually, because I think when she was talking about, that Star Wars place, is it pronounced Tatooine?
I don't know.
Where there's, like, the 2 suns. I would love to have seen images of that, just like, what would it actually look like? And I really loved her talking about how just having, like, a massive sun in the sky, like, if you're in one of these alien worlds, and just waking up and having, like, this huge. I really would like to see that, because I don't think I am very good at picturing in my head, so I'd like to just have it in front of me. And just and just having, like, the red dwarf star and how that would look different, and it's just really, I think graphic novel would be amazing. We should campaign.
I was thinking, have you ever, like, read Horrible Histories, or they've done Horrible Geography, they've done all different kinds of spin-offs. I think they've done Horrible Science as well, like these kids books that are like informative graphic novel style, like, they're quite funny, and I think some of these planets could be quite funny, like what you were saying about the sun being, like, really close to you, like, I could just imagine it being something like that. So maybe if she should team up with Horrible Science and do this book, I think that would be just a great time.
That would be so cool, and especially, like, if it was written for a younger audience as well, because it's so, I mean, she's right. Like, you can't imagine some of these places because they're just like and like the diamond worlds and stuff. Just knowing that everything's like so dense, it's just a diamond. It's just it would be a really cool way to like teach kids about the different types of planets, definitely.
Yeah.
And me.
Oh, and me too. I still read horrible geography books because I'm like, I don't know. They're nice and simple and they're fun, and I'm like, yes, I love this. It's a good time. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever read one of those books. I should read them.
They're so good. Yeah. I still read them, 13 years on? Maybe more than that. I can't do maths off the top of my head. A very long time ago when I first got them.
Should we call Tom in?
Yes, I shall go and summon him. I don't know where he is, but I'll mute myself and go for a hunt. I say a hunt, we only live in a flat. It's not like he's going to be miles away. But yeah, I'll go and get him. I'll be a few seconds or maybe a minute.
We need a little interlude.
Yeah.
Interlude music.
Maybe I'll sing a song or something when he comes in. Right, be right back. Oh.
So we've got like Tom is Hannah's partner, and he did a PhD in galaxy formation and what's it called? I wrote it down. Just like the evolution of galaxies and stuff like that. So we thought it would be nice to invite him in to speak to us about his work, because I guess it might be similar to star system formation and stuff. So yeah, I'm excited to hear about it. Here he is. Hi, Tom.
This is Thomas. Oh.
Hi.
Hi. How are you?
All right, thank you. How are you?
Good. Yeah, very good. Thank you.
That's going to be uncomfortable to sit like that, isn't it?
I'm going to make it so you guys are bigger. So.
This is Thomas, not Hannah. I don't know if I can change my name now. Oh, it doesn't matter. Would you like to introduce
Hi, yeah, sorry,
I think Kim might have just already said something.
So, yeah, I came in. I don't know what you were just saying. Sorry.
Oh no, I was bumbling about stuff that might not be true. So over to you.
So I'm Tom. I recently, a year ago. A year ago on Friday, I got a PhD in astronomy. I know most of what you were just talking about was mostly like nearby in terms of relatively spacey things, in terms of like going to the moon and other planets. When you're talking about what's her name?
Yeah,
Apollo.
We haven't actually.
Right, yeah, but she was involved in the going to the moon.
Sorry, I interrupted.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, but I did my focus was on galaxies and specifically other galaxies as well. So kind of like not quite as far away as you can do in astronomy, but getting there. But I think I know already. I think I know most topics in astronomy anyway. I don't know. Do you want me to talk about that, Kim?
What did you say, Hannah? Sorry,
I don't think Kim heard me because I was doing stupid mumbling. Like, I don't know if you want to hear about galaxy formation.
I'd love to hear about that. Yeah, definitely.
Just my horrible cardboard box with all the stuff I can't be bothered to display and wrapping paper. But if we do that, you can't tell.
What was the question?
I can't remember. Galaxy formation.
Yeah. So my PhD was specifically I was researching new ways to try and understand. Basically, I was trying to figure out new ways to try and understand how galaxies, and specifically spiral galaxies, have grown and evolved over their history. So their history being like since nearly the beginning of the universe. So on kind of giga-year scale, so billions of years scales, and looking at seeing if we can see what traces there are of a galaxy's history left inside that galaxy itself. And also I did a little bit on trying to understand what's actually going on inside the spiral galaxy as well, because that's interesting. It's still not really properly understood.
Okay. So with like comparing with like how they would look at other stars and stuff like that, do you use the same techniques, do you know, to kind of, because it's like spectroscopy, right? Just measuring the light and looking at it that way. Is it similar to
exactly.
how they look at stuff? Yeah.
So I haven't read the book, the Planet Factory. So I assume that there was some spectroscopy in there, was there?
Yeah, they did the radial velocity stuff and measuring the wobble of the stars and things like that. So
yeah.
Can I just say, whenever she mentioned wobble in the book, it just reminded me of that video of the Master Chef. Have you seen that video? Oh, now I look stupid. It's really funny. Greg Wallace and the chef. What's it called? Buttery Biscuit Face. Yeah, there we go. Sorry, I've interrupted with this stupid pop reference again.
Oh, so funny.
Let's answer your question. Anyway. So I also just realised you look really short there. Small chair.
I'm shortish then.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, sidetracked again. Yeah, so a lot of the work I was doing, yes, you're exactly right, I was doing spectroscopy, and a lot of the work that I was doing relies on the fact that we should really understand what the spectroscopy of stars is like. Because a lot of the work that I was doing is trying to looking at the spectra itself, so not necessarily looking at the Doppler shift, although that does come into it a little bit, but more about the shape of that spectrum and what those spectra look like, to try and untangle. So if I do some spectroscopy on some stars, and so I understand what those stars should look like, essentially I was then trying to, you can apply that to galaxies to try and figure out what kinds of stars are in that galaxy and how much of each type of star are in there.
Okay. How on earth do you like detangle from all the different? Is it too technical, like what you do?
It is technical, but you're right that it's a difficult problem, and some people, that you can never really do it 100% perfectly. You have to, so you can do it as a kind of at the very simplest level, you can say, well, the youngest stars that we can see, the most massive stars that we can see, and they are youngest because massive stars don't live very long, so we know they have to be young. We see that they are all very blue, whereas the older stars are all very red. So then when we go look at a galaxy and we see that if the galaxy is blue, then we can kind of just say, well, there's more younger stars. There must be more younger stars there than a red galaxy, a blue galaxy. Yeah. But then you can get more complicated and you get more details in looking at the actual spectrum itself rather than just like hand wavy colory type of stuff. But yeah, it does get more difficult, and you end up you do have to use some fancy software, and various people have made various attempts to try and solve that exact problem. But yeah, it is difficult.
Because I can't imagine, just obviously because they're so far away. So when you've got the detector, you must be like one little pixel, whatever, of your detector. That must be loads of stars, mustn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's always trying to look for what's the best combination of stars that we know the spectra look what the spectra look like. What's the best combination of those to add up to get to what we see in that galaxy? As you say, it's a population where there'll be thousands and millions of stars.
Yeah, that's crazy. You can do that. That's amazing.
Well, there's always uncertainties, and a lot of it is kind of Bayesian probability based. So you have to say, like, you can never say there are exactly 4,000 young stars and 3,000 old stars. It's always like kind of a probability distributions, and you have to kind of say, on average, we reckon, with a fairly large uncertainty in it. It does get difficult, and I think there are probably some astronomers that think you can never do it fully properly because it's all a bit messy.
What do you you actually use to measure that information?
So for the measurement, do you mean like observing those spectra, or to find the best fit combination? Observing, yeah. So the data that I was using. Okay, actually, I'll go one step back first. So a lot of astronomy in history has been done by just taking photos, essentially, because you try and look at the structure, the physical structure in there. Then there's also another strong strand of astronomy in spectroscopy, which is where you essentially, it's a glorified, like if you've got a prism and you shine light through it and you see the light spreads out like that, you can do exactly the same kind of thing, but instead of just shining a light from it, you are focusing light from a specific galaxy and essentially shining it through a prism like you would in your science lab, and looking at that light that's come out, you then shine that onto a camera detector. So instead of just looking at the pretty patterns, you then got a camera detector at the back, so you can see how much red light, how much orange light, how much yellow light. By basically, you build up a picture, but instead of being a physical picture of like X and Y coordinates of physical space, you've got coordinates of wavelength, because you split that light up.
Well, I find funny whenever Tom explains science, he uses his hands. But I think the thing is that I'm looking at your hands when you talk, because like it helps me understand, like when you do an X and Y.
Yeah.
Wait, is that the right way?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's gone off on a tangent. I've got another question. Oh, you haven't finished.
I was just going to say that my work is then, like, in the last, say, 5 years or so, maybe a bit longer, 10 years. There's been more and more research in, and more telescopes and devices built that can do both of those things simultaneously. So you can measure you can basically take a photo, but also look at the light, the spectrum at each point in that picture. So it's a kind of like a 3-dimensional image. You've got the XY coordinates and a wavelength coordinate.
Ah, cool.
And that's what I was using.
Amazing. That's just, it's baffling that we can even do that.
Yeah, I didn't build that device. I didn't do that.
Hannah, did you have another question?
Yes. It wasn't to do with your work. There's one bit in the book that hopefully you can answer this, because I don't know, because you don't do planets that much, but you do bits of gravity, don't you? Surely in the galaxy.
Yeah, I'm not very good at gravity.
Oh.
Gravity's really complicated, but carry on.
So you know hot Jupiters?
Yeah.
Right, so you know that Elizabeth says that, I'm calling them by their first name. Lizzie says that they're formed, what's that thing called? See, they're formed like further back, can't they, from the star? Because they're gas giants. But then some of them are really close to their star. And so it says that they were formed like further out, and then they were brought further in through the sun's gravity. But I didn't understand what stopped the planet from just crashing into the sun, because there was like the planetesimals. Yeah, those.
Planetesimals.
They crashing. That some of them were crashing into the sun, weren't they, because of the gravity from the sun? So what was it that stops those? Just, you don't have to go into too much detail. Just me detail.
You mean, so when a Jupiter is being brought into the sun, why doesn't it come all the way into the sun?
What makes it stop?
I guess some of them do crash all the way into the sun. Probably. It's like what's it like? I was giving Hannah. I was giving Hannah an analogy of, those things. I don't know why I always saw them in museums, where you put a coin in on the edge and it rolls the coin round and round and round and round and round and round.
They used to do those at McDonald's as well.
Okay. Well, in McDonald's or a museum.
Kind of classes that we're in here.
the reason it takes a long time to get in is because it's that momentum, the angular momentum. So to bring it all the way, to bring that planet all the way into the sun, you have to somehow remove all of that angular momentum, which is really difficult to do.
So is it just that the hot Jupiter just it's brought in so much material that its own gravity is strong enough to stop it from going any further? Or I don't know.
It's not necessarily the gravity; it's more the momentum of the planet.
Okay.
You it's essentially to make that planet fall into the sun.
Yeah.
You essentially have to stop it in its tracks.
I don't know if Kim would know, because
you did physics, didn't you?
I think also
I don't know anything really, but it might be, I might be wrong, but I thought the book said something like, because you had all the gas in the disk at the start of a star's life, so when you had that gas, the forces on the planet slowed it down, which made it come towards the star. And then once the gas went away because the sun's ray or the star's rays blew it away, then there wasn't that force anymore. So then I might be wrong, but that's what I thought it said.
That makes sense.
There we go. Just need Kim.
Yeah. I was going to say we can't keep on nodding at the same time. But,
okay. No, that sounds like it.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah. That was confusing. It was confusing. I think I had to think about it for ages, what she was trying to say. Yeah.
I think at times my brain just turns off and it's too much information, and it just kind of collapses into boring, arbitrary things. Yeah.
I think what I was confused about with it was that, when they find a planet or detect a planet going around a star, they look at the wobble of the star, but how do you know, because then they can work out the mass of the star and everything like that. But then how do they know that the wobble of the star is from the planet? They don't, do they? So then it's just I don't know how she can say you can definitively work out the masses of the planet if we don't know that there are other planets moving around, knocking the star around as well. I was just a bit confused about, is it just an assumption they make that
There are quite a few assumptions that you have to make the way that when they can get really good measurements, it's because that when they're measuring that wobble, they're timing it all the time, and they can see that it's always wobbling at the exact same rate. And if there was more than one planet orbiting it, you'd expect to see an extra pattern. So you would see it wobbling at two different periods, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I should have thought about that. yeah, that makes sense.
They do measure those stars. They do measure stars that have lots of different wobbles all kind of overlaid on top of each other.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm being very unprofessional. So with the neutron stars, that's something I found interesting.
Did this talk about neutron stars?
Yeah.
Okay.
A little bit, wasn't it? It wasn't huge amount. Yeah. Would you like to talk about that?
What, neutron stars?
Just a little bit, because I found that really interesting. And also, I don't really understand how they exist.
Where they came from, or?
Not so much where they came from, but just what they actually are. What are they made of? And I don't know if this came into the book at all. Sorry, I'm just asking loads of questions that I could just ask you at any point.
No, it's interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just something in space that I think to the person who doesn't know much about physics like me, just the ordinary fellow, just finds really interesting. It's the same league as black holes, stuff like that just really captures people's attention, I think.
I think neutron stars are even weirder and even more amazing than black holes. They're just so unlike anything else in the universe. They're made of pure neutrons. So they're not made up of a chemical like anything on Earth. It's just neutrons. Yeah. I don't really know what it would feel like, except they'd be extruded. I mean, you would know if you. Well, no, you couldn't. I'm sure if you read the book, you would be flattened into a pancake.
Yeah.
but they've got some very specific properties. So they are some of the, well, they're one of the densest things. The densest thing is, and they've got some of the strongest magnetic fields of any object as well. I didn't know why. I can't remember why.
What does that actually mean for the normal person? What a magnetic field is?
Okay, so like a magnet that you stick on a fridge will have a magnetic strength of, like, so we measure it in. Oh, this is bad. I've forgotten Kim, what's the units of magnetism?
Oh gosh, don't do this to me now. I've forgotten. It's been a long time since I've done my studies. Is it a farad? No, that's not.
When you say magnetism,
yeah.
Even so, what's that? Just two opposing things that attract.
So it's a measure of how attractive a magnet is to a magnetic thing. So like a fridge magnet is just about strong enough that it'll stick on the fridge. A magnet on a compass is just about strong enough that it will detect the Earth's magnetic field. So, and then like you could.
Is it Tesla?
Of course it is.
Yeah, I should know this. This is why I don't do physics for a job, because people ask me questions and my mind goes blank, even though I know it. It's so bad.
Be of any question.
Oh, it's so embarrassing. Anyway, so carry on.
But yeah, so if you played with magnets, you'll know that some magnets are inherently stronger than others, and so the magnetism or the strength, magnetic field strength, are ways of measuring, comparing how strong those magnets are.
So a neutron star, anything that comes close to that, it's going to be flatter than a pancake.
Yeah, well, it depends what it is. So okay, so but for scale, I mean, I can't remember the numbers, but like the Earth, the magnet that you might stick on a fridge is like a few, say, 1,000 times stronger than the Earth's magnetic field. A magnet that you use in the most common large magnets in every day, not every day, but like in society, are ones that you might use in an MRI machine, and they are like another few hundred or thousand times stronger again. The sun's is like another few thousand times stronger. Magnetic field is like millions of times stronger. So much so that they shoot electrons off into space, because their electric field is so strong that like electrons, instead of flying straight through the air, just become spiralized and shoot straight off into space. Yeah, the magnetic fields are just, like, I remember doing a module on basically black holes and neutron stars in my third year of undergrad, and yeah, that was the thing that just like blew my mind, is how strong these magnetic fields are. I can't remember where we're going with this.
Sorry, I just asking about neutron stars.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And a lot of them spin ridiculously quickly.
Because did she say in the book that the pulsars, they found planets around the pulsars as well? Which is weird.
I think so. That was the bit where my mind again was like, But
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's just crazy.
That's not somewhere that anything could stay alive.
Yeah, because it's so precise. She was saying like the jets are so precise that they could find that they found them before they found them anywhere else around the pulsar. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Which is I didn't realize. It was really interesting. But yeah, what on earth can live there? Which I guess that leads us on to like, what do you think about finding life? Ask the classic question to you. Do you think it's like we'd be able to recognize life like in our lifetimes, or do you think we just need longer to get it together?
What do you think, having read this and read other things as well?
At first I thought, we probably could look for biosignatures and stuff, and maybe within my lifetime we'd start getting glimpses of stuff. But after reading this book, she came up with so many reasons why it wouldn't necessarily be life, and there's so many different options as to what it could be, and that loads of the planets are like essentially, as far as they can tell, couldn't sustain life as we know it. That then my hope kind of dwindled quite a lot. I thought, now I kind of feel like maybe I'm not going to live to see the day where we find other life. But yeah, what do you think?
Don't look at me.
I was going to say, what do you think?
I've already said what I think.
Yeah.
I think we can't. I don't know. Because at the same time, Kim was saying that a lot of the stuff that we think would make life, it seems like quite concrete. Well, no, I'm just like paraphrasing terribly what you said, but it would be likely that if life would, be somewhere else in the world, it would be kind of similar to how we know.
No.
But, yeah. So what? I don't know,
because I feel like it could be life in like a totally different way that we don't understand, or a way we can't detect and stuff like that. But I feel like if we're going to find life, we're going to find life that's quite similar to ours. Yeah. I think, because we like how else would we know it? I feel like that'll be the first thing that we see, maybe, and then. Because I just think, like you were saying, it's so crazy, isn't it? Like it could be something completely that nobody's can ever imagine. So how would we ever detect it? So yeah. Yeah,
I think you've basically you're thinking along the same lines that I think as well. Is that I guess if there is something that may be able to be called life somewhere in the universe, I think we could easily stare at it right in the face and we wouldn't recognize it to be life. Like if there were no, if there were no bacteria on Earth. No, in fact, even better one, like a tree. If there were no trees on Earth and we went to the moon and we saw trees, we wouldn't say, wow, we found life. We'd say, wow, that's a really weird chemical reaction going on.
Yeah, you're right.
And then I think the flip side is exactly what you said, is that if we are going to find life, it will be life like what we have on Earth, because that is exactly what we are looking for, isn't it? We are looking for those biosignatures for what there is on Earth.
Yeah.
Which makes it more difficult to find it, because then that means that we're kind of limiting ourselves to what we're going to look for.
Do you think it exists?
Yeah, I think the universe is too large, and there's too many planets around too many stars in too many galaxies all over the universe, and I think it's just too unlikely. It's just too bizarre to think that the Earth is the only place where it's happened. As unlikely as it is, like it could be that we're the only Earth-like planet in this galaxy, but probably in another galaxy at least. If not in this, maybe quite possibly in this galaxy as well. But yeah, it'll be really difficult to find it.
There's another thing I found interesting in the planet X in our solar system. It was another planet, because still orbiting the sun around in our solar system. But I thought, hold on, I thought we knew everything about our solar system, and we actually don't.
So this is, you've read the book, so you probably know more than me. So this is because by tracking how the outer planets orbit the sun, they've realized that there must be something else that's kind of pulling the orbits out a bit. Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? And I'm sure I read something within the last 6 months or so where someone had said that they think they have figured out roughly where it is in the solar system as well.
Really? That's cool.
I haven't heard any more, so presumably they haven't found it.
I have to look that up.
Oh, sorry, what did you say?
Oh, no, I said I have to look that up and see what they've found, see if they know. Sorry, carry on, Hannah.
I was just going to say this was one bit in the book which I thought, oh yes, this is really interesting. But then I don't think she talked about it enough, and then she went on a different tangent. I was like, no, go back to the planet X. Is there a light bulb in there?
No.
Oh. Oh well, we'll be in the dark.
But it's difficult though, because you've seen the variety of planets we have in the massive variety of moons and the variety of asteroids. It could be that the planet X is massive, and the reason we haven't seen it is because because it's black.
Did it see through?
So, yeah, or see through. Well, I think that's less likely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is so
It could
cool.
be.
Like the fact, I don't know. She was saying it's gonna be a pretty hectic, massive thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do we not
Yeah.
see that? No. Crazy.
Also, I think it is still slightly. I don't think everyone is completely convinced that there is a planet X. I think there's still people that think there could be another explanation.
I think they should call it Pluto.
Oh my gosh.
I
realised yeah, this is a bit off tangent, but I think, did she say in the book that Pluto is another name for Hades? Is he is Pluto an evil thing? I'm just like, this isn't right. I don't like Pluto being named after Hades.
Yeah, because she was like of the what's it? God? Is it God or what's the right word? Something of the underworld, like King. What's the word? I don't know the proper mythological name. But then I thought Greek was Pluto, and then Hades was, I don't know, because I thought Pluto was the Greek mythological person for the underworld, like the ruler, whatever it is. But then I thought Hades was. I don't know. I'm confused.
Yeah,
I don't know that much about mythology.
don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, what's Pluto got to do with the underworld? Poor Pluto. I mean, the planet. Yeah, it's got Jupiter, Pluto, or Mars or something. Like, well, no, I'm just talking about
that was an aside. I just didn't realise that it meant like Lord of the Underworld.
Yeah.
Gosh. Yeah. Thanks, Tom.
It's all right.
Thank you.
I do like. I watched because I remembered ages ago Hannah mentioned that your work was on 60 symbols, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, which I remembered today, and I've watched it because I love Brady. So I've watched a lot of like his videos and stuff. I think they're really good. And it was a good video. I'll link it in the description after we finish this, if anyone wants to watch it. Just more about Tom's PhD work. But there was a question that if you don't mind me asking, I was just interested because he said in it that like you found that the stars were the oldest at the center of the galaxy, right? And then as you went out, they got younger. But then he said that they were heavier in metals, which means that they were younger, or there was more increased like planet formation at that part.
Star formation.
Planet. I've got planets on my brain. Yeah, the star formation. Yeah. So then I was thinking, well, if there was like rapid star formation there, wouldn't they be younger? Would they be? Or is it just that part of the galaxy is just older because it's like come in? I was a bit confused about why they would be heavier metals.
So it's because the star formation would have been more rapid but longer ago. So it's like you've got the two time scales. Okay. You've got
my headphones. Yeah. Sorry.
Like constant.
Right. Okay. Okay. So it just happened really quickly, but it just happened longer ago, and they just did a lot. So then the further out you go, it was just less, but more recent.
Yeah. Exactly that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. Yeah. It was good. People should watch it. It was a good video. Cool. Yeah. Thank you for answering our questions.
It's all right. Shall I leave you to it, or shall I stick around?
You can go forever now.
I'll go forever.
Oh, hush.
I don't know.
Bye-bye.
Oh, bye-bye.
Oh, I thought you wanted to get rid of me.
No, you don't. You can do what you want to.
I'll sit awkwardly.
Okay.
So I think we're gonna wrap stuff up now. Anyway,
I'll sit in front of all that crap.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's so interesting. I did enjoy reading the book, definitely.
Yeah.
I thought like now we're talking about it. I like the topic, but I do agree with you about the difficulty level of the book. I do agree with you about that.
I just need to stop being dumb.
You're not dumb.
Oh, yes, I was reading it like.
Absolutely not.
I'm going out with you. I should ask you more questions. But yeah, I'm just lazy, I think.
Absolutely no. I don't know. Maybe you are lazy, but I don't think you're lazy. Yeah. So thank you for everyone who joined in. I hope everyone enjoyed the book. If you've read it, let us know your thoughts on it. And I think we've worked out for round 4. We're going to be reading about witches, which is totally different.
Yeah.
So we're going to go down the Salem witch trial route, I think. But we'll make a little announcement video just saying which books we've chosen for that. And then hopefully some of you guys can join in with us. That'd be really fun.
Yeah.
I've wanted to read about it for ages. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, what did you say?
I said I wanted to read about the witch trials for a long time. So
yeah,
I'm excited about it.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it'd be good. But yeah, so hopefully we'll come back and do some more spacey stuff in the future.
Yeah.
Because I really loved it. It's been good. It's nice to talk about it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I learnt lots from you, Kim, and from you, Thomas. So my mind has been growing a bit in this session, which is good.
I have to pick your brains in the future about stuff.
Oh no.
Yeah, I was going to ask you actually, Tom, if you were going to do your PhD now, would you do it on the same topic, or would you be enticed by exoplanets ever? No. Oh, I can't quite hear you. Sorry. I can't quite hear you. I think because you're sat at the side. Sorry.
Shuffle over.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's much better.
Can you hear me now? Yeah. So I think exoplanets are they're an interesting kind of not curiosity, but this is only in my opinion.
You're wrong.
They're it's an interesting subject. I think a lot of the work that's going into exoplanet research at the moment seems to kind of be just collecting information rather than trying to understand how it all fits together. I think because it is quite a young area of research, it's still kind of finding its feet somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I do see what you mean. Sorry, say that again.
I was just going to say it is interesting, but I think yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't want to spend 3 or 4 years researching it.
It's not so hard.
No.
There's so much unknown. Yeah. There's so much unknown about it, isn't it? So until we've got more info, then I guess there's only so much you can do. Yeah.
But it seems like in some ways that would make it more exciting. If there's lots that you don't know about, then that means there's so much still to explore. But it somehow still seems to be, I don't know, it seems to be kind of lacking in a big picture somehow. I don't know, so in galaxies, the subject is understanding how galaxies are formed and therefore why the Milky Way is like it is, and therefore why our solar system could be where it is. But in exoplanet research, there is obviously research in how planets are forming and therefore how the Earth is formed. But a lot of it does just seem to be finding new planets, and then it's well, cool, you found more planets, and then you go and find more planets, which is great. But I think I would want more of that kind of trying to understand how it fits together, if that makes sense.
It's you're finding pieces to a puzzle, but they don't all fit together in the puzzle.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. Yeah, they're still finding all the different bits. They still haven't found the corners and the edge pieces yet.
Yeah, I totally see what you mean. It's very much like looking at geology and stuff as well, and analyzing it's a weird thing, because I guess you have to build a theory of what you're looking for rather than just looking and seeing as well. So there's this weird maybe we're kind of shaping what we find by what we expect to find a little bit as well. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's interesting. But hopefully, I'm really excited for the James Webb Space Telescope to finally go up.
Whenever that is.
I know, I googled it just before, and it says October this year. I hope it does. That would be amazing. And then hopefully then they can start picking out the atmospheres a bit more, so we start having more of an understanding about stuff. But I'm dead excited.
James Webb Space Telescope is a bit of an ongoing joke in the astro world. I think its original launch date was like 10 years ago or something, and they just keep on delaying it. And I know plenty of people who started a PhD thinking, oh yes, the James Webb Space Telescope is going to be launched in 3 months or 6 months or whatever, and therefore I'm going to be at just the right time where I'm going to be able to do my PhD when the first results are just coming in. And then they're like, well, I finished my PhD now and it still hasn't launched.
That's so depressing. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Oh, well, I guess it's a watch this space thing. I hope they sort things out in my lifetime, but I'm not going to hold my breath. I'm not going to hold my breath. Well, thanks so much, you two. I guess we should end it now. It's been fun. Thanks for reading the books with me, Hannah.
Oh no, thank you for picking them, because I've learned lots.
You picked the Katherine Johnson one, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I suppose so. But then I learned lots from the Planet Factory, which was a good time.
And thanks for inviting me.
You're welcome. It's been fun.
You're somewhat tolerable.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for watching. See you later.
Okay.